it's crazy the amount of stuff that these experiments led this mouse to be able to do. Welcome back to another bookish review. Now, as you know, I started Word of Mouse because I had read Winter, which was an 823-page book, so I needed a book that was a bit shorter and quicker to read. Well, it's been 3 days since I actually started reading this, and one of the days I barely had a chance to read it because I was busy, and then one day I didn't read it at all. So it's only been about 2 days of actual reading with this, and I thought it was really cute. And for those of you that don't want spoilers, I highly recommend reading this yourself before you continue on with the video. So if you want to leave, you can go ahead and do that now. I won't hold it against you. I don't like spoilers for things either. So assuming those of you that did not want spoilers are gone, let's continue on with the review. Now, we start out our book with a group of mice trying to escape a bad place or a horrible place, and one of them gets separated from the others, and the others are caught. Now, from this start, I kind of got Ratatouille vibes, because that's kind of what happens in Ratatouille. His family is escaping a horrible place and a horrible situation, and Remy gets separated from his family, going a completely different direction. So from the start, it made me think of Ratatouille, even though, yes, this book centers around mice, and that movie centered around rats. But you can't help but notice the similarities. So this is a James Patterson book, and it's one of his more child-friendly books, where his other books are very in-detailed crime stories that should not be read in church, which I made the mistake of doing one time. And yeah, it was not good. I put the book down and was like, I'll read it later. And then so this story is a quick little story with lots of cute little illustrations and such. The illustrations were done by somebody else, and there's little quotes at the top of each chapter. And one of my favorite quotes comes from chapter 10, which, let me find it. Oh, it's right here. Chapter 10 says, "Hope is putting faith to work when giving up would be easier." It's basically saying that you have to hope for something better and don't give up. And I just thought that that was a really motivational quote. But let's get into the review of this. So Isaiah here, who had been separated from his 96 other family members out of this horrible place, ends up like having to fend for himself for the first time, because he is the last in these 97 mouse family. So he's the youngest of 97. So he's got 96 siblings that are all older than him, which, yikes, that would stink. And not only is he the youngest of his family, but he's also the runt of the family. And that's not all. To cap it all off, with him being the youngest and the runt, he is also blue. And I'm not talking about your typical, like, darker gray, almost blue kind of mouse fur. I mean, like, he is a bright sky electric blue. And that is because the people in the horrible place were using him and his 96 siblings for science experiments, and basically using them as lab mice. So in order to tell the different mice apart, which had different versions of their experiments used on them, they dyed their fur different colors in order to keep track of their experiments, which the experiments are why the mischief of mice decided to break out of this horrible place, because they were literally being treated like the lab rats. So we follow Isaac on this whole adventure of like trying to learn to fend for himself and like fighting all the dangers from a cat to a dog to a hawk. Hawk? Hawk. 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 But why does that not sound right? Hawk. That doesn't sound right to me for some reason. Anyway, through his adventures and through like learning to fend for himself, we are led to realize that mice really are like the weak link. They really have so much to like fight against, whereas we don't. We're big, but we're still afraid of mice. But finally getting fed up about having to eat out of the bottom of garbage cans, he runs into this female mouse who he hears singing, but for some reason she is afraid to tell anyone in her mischief, which is the typical term for a family of mice, that she does not want to sing, and only male mice are supposed to sing. And he's like, but you're a beautiful singer. And so they stick together and she leads him back to her home. And he slowly starts to become part of this family, part of this other mischief. And so he starts to feel guilty. He's like, I left my family in that horrible place and all of this, and I have all these special talents that I can do. I'm super smart. I know how to read. I can type on a keyboard. Like, it's crazy the amount of stuff that these experiments led this mouse to be able to do. And it's just this story about family sticking together and learning how to trust people who are different from you, because he puts his trust in this little human girl who almost squished him with paper. And it's about looking past each other's differences. There's a big emphasis on family, but there's also a big emphasis on accepting yourself and your differences, and then accepting the differences between you and everybody else. Because in reality, we are all different, and in us all being different in our own way, we are all the same. Like, that's what makes the world so interesting, is how different all of us are, from the tiniest little mouse to the most giant of us humans. Like, we're all different, and that's what makes the world special. I mean, think about it. If every species was the same in how they thought, how they acted, how they communicated, how they did stuff, if everyone was the same, the world would be boring as hell, because no conversation would be had, because there'd be no point, because everybody has the same opinion. So what's the point of talking about it if everybody's going to give the same answer and start the same conversations? And on top of that, because everybody would be the same, nothing would get invented, because there's no one to think outside the box and come up with new ideas. So basically, if everyone was the same in all aspects, the world would be completely meaningless. And it is our differences that make us so special. And that's the main message of this book, is don't push your differences aside for the benefit of somebody else. Show your differences. Show the things you love, like loving to read or loving cosplay or whatever. As long as it's something that's not hurting anyone else, go and have a fucking blast. Like, that's basically what this book is saying. Embrace your differences, because everyone's different. They're just different in their own ways. And that's the only way that we're the same. I mean, I don't think the same as you. I don't look the same as you. I don't dress the same as you. And that's okay. It's all a matter of our own perspective. And as long as we're happy with ourselves and we're not hurting anybody else, that is perfectly fine. Embrace those differences. And it tells all of that through a special little blue mouse who did not want to be held in a lab anymore and was trying his best to rescue his family using those differences that that bad, horrible place gave him. And I loved it, and for like a 2-day read, it was awesome. And I'm really glad that my aunt gave it to me because I genuinely enjoyed it. Now, the next book I'm going into, I'm probably going to start as soon as I turn this off and note down my final thoughts of this book because I am still journaling it, is Cursed by Frank Miller and Thomas Wheeler. And I am super excited to go into this one, and depending on if I like the story or not, I might just check out the show as well. And then maybe, hey, since it's a book to show adaptation, I might do a review on the show. Who knows? I've been doing that more lately, reviewing shows that go with books. So, we'll see. Alright, hope to see you next time, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And remember, embrace your differences, because we're all different in our own ways.